I surprised my wife during her secret getaway with her lover by handing her divorce papers. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. My story is quite long and complicated, so I apologize for any mistakes. I'm writing this from my phone. I've reached my limit and have no idea how to sort through all this chaos. A bit of backstory. I'm 43, my wife is 40, and we've been married for 16 years. We have 2 children, a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. At the beginning of our marriage, we had many problems, but we managed to overcome those difficulties and came out stronger. We got married young and weren't mature enough back then, but we knew we loved each other and believed we could overcome any obstacles. Now, I'm not so sure if those were just my naive thoughts. In short, my wife has been working as a manager at a large advertising company for 3 years, while I've been an engineer for 7 years. Both of our incomes have provided us with a comfortable life. We were a very close-knit family and always tried to ensure our kids saw that we were there for them and working hard to give them a good childhood. No matter how busy we were, we always made time for the kids. Honestly, I consider myself a good father and husband. I've made mistakes in my relationship with my wife, but I've always tried my best for her. That's why it devastated me to the core when I found out she'd been having an affair for a long time. Now, let me explain how I discovered it. My wife began acting distant. To be honest, the past 2 years have been hard in general. She didn't like anything I did and constantly compared me to her boss. Now, I understand why. She would always say things like, "He would have handled this differently," or, "Why can't you read my mind like he can?" She would accuse me of not taking her on dates or making her feel special, adding that her boss always did that for his wife. I asked her what she wanted me to do to improve our relationship, and she would usually respond, "Don't ask, you should just know and do it." I started looking for answers, buying books, and doing research because I felt stuck. Surely, someone had the solution. But everything I tried for her was met with either lukewarm gratitude or bitter disappointment. My wife had never been like this before, and I began to think I wasn't capable of making her happy. How can I fix this? I wondered. But, as you probably already guessed, I wasn't the only one trying to fix things. We were very close to her boss and his wife. They also have kids, and our children got along well. We would have barbecues, family outings to the park, and trips to play areas together. They had been to our house many times, just as we had been to theirs. It's no surprise we got close. I trusted her boss, and even shared some of our family issues with him. He gave me great advice. I thought he was a great guy. I was emotionally drained by my wife's behavior because, before all this, I thought we had a great marriage. One evening, while she was texting someone, she started laughing and giggling. I was lying next to her in bed, and my curiosity got the better of me. When I leaned over to glance at her screen, she abruptly asked me what I was doing. I told her I just wanted to see what was so funny, but she said it wasn't my business and went to the bathroom. I think, deep down, I realized something was wrong that day, but I didn't have any evidence. The next day, I made the mistake of asking her directly. She got angry and denied everything. I didn't have access to her phone, but I was desperate to find out the truth. I asked for her phone, and she refused. Later that evening, she reluctantly gave it to me, but almost all her messages had been deleted. I could tell because some conversations were disjointed, while others were outright nonsensical. I returned the phone and didn't bring up the topic again for another month. Eventually, I asked a friend to help me recover the deleted messages. That's when I discovered she had another phone that she barely used. Some messages were restored, and I finally had proof that she was having an affair with her boss, as you probably guessed. I knew that if I confronted her immediately, she would find a way to deny or deflect everything. So, I decided to wait. I was completely shattered. All I could think about was how this would affect our kids. The situation was horrible. I cried in front of my friend. Even then, I didn't want to destroy our marriage. 3 days later, I bought a book called How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair. I know you're probably facepalming right now. I started reading it, hoping that if I gave it to her, she would stop this madness. I wanted to win her back and save our marriage. I planned to talk to her on Saturday to discuss everything, but she said there was urgent work to handle and told me not to wait for her. Naturally, I called her workplace to confirm her story, but there was no answer. The office was closed. I tried calling her, but she didn't pick up. She came home at 2 a.m. on Sunday, went straight to the shower, and then got into bed. I asked why she was so late, but she avoided answering, simply saying she had already told me not to wait for her. In the end, I didn't give her the book I had bought. I was suffering, and she didn't care. She saw my pain and was indifferent. Desperate for support, I reached out to her boss's wife to find out if she knew anything. I still don't regret doing it. When she learned the truth, she was just as shocked as I was. She wanted to confront her husband, but I told her he would probably lie and then just be more careful, just like my wife had been. We met at her house to discuss everything, and I showed her the little evidence I had. She needed more information, so we both decided to gather evidence from both sides and compare it. I started monitoring my wife even more closely, and she did the same with her husband. It was easier for her to gather irrefutable proof. Her husband was so overconfident that he didn't even delete incriminating messages. The few messages I had found earlier suddenly made sense, and we realized their affair had been going on for 2 years. Her boss's wife was furious, just like I was. She wanted revenge, and so did I. They had been sleeping together everywhere, at her house, at mine, in expensive hotels, and during work trips. They exchanged photos, but we decided to ignore those to avoid further emotional harm. We wanted revenge, but without stooping to infidelity ourselves. We both decided that if they wanted to be together, so be it. We simultaneously prepared divorce papers. Our spouses didn't know that we were aware of everything and continued to play their roles. Finally, everything was ready. Thanks to our collaboration, we knew where and how to catch them. We found out which hotel they had booked for their fun weekend. I personally went there with a court officer. I waited in the lobby while the officer called my wife down from the room. She came out wearing only a robe and panicked when she saw me, asking what I was doing there. The hotel was far from our house. The officer confirmed her name and other personal details. Confused, she reluctantly answered, and then she was served the divorce papers. I felt a sense of satisfaction seeing her shocked face, but I didn't want to escalate the situation further. I decided to leave, knowing everything was done. But she wouldn't let me go. She grabbed my arm, demanding an explanation and trying to stop me. I said, "You cheated, and I'm leaving. It's that simple." She started yelling at me, pulling on my arm so hard that the officer had to intervene, ordering her to let me go. She did but began crying, saying she could explain everything, that I misunderstood, and that it was my fault. I was already angry, so I quickly left and went home. My wife told her boss what had happened, and, as I heard, he panicked. He rushed home, where his wife was waiting with divorce papers of her own. We didn't give them a chance to wiggle out of it. We caught them off guard, just as they had done to us. My divorce will be finalized in a few months. Hers might take longer. Neither my wife nor her boss wants a divorce. They claim they never intended to leave their families. It was just physical, nothing more. People have been through worse infidelities and still stayed together, they say. They admit they messed up but want to fix things. I asked my wife what she thought this would lead to. She replied that she had just been going with the flow, that she wasn't herself, and that she's not that person anymore. I told her she was an idiot. People around me call me cruel for not giving her a second chance. My kids know what's happening, to the extent that's appropriate for their age, and they fully support me. But they still wish we could stay together. My desire for divorce is weakening. We're still living in the same house. My wife is going to therapy and reading the book I bought. It's getting harder to stay firm in my decision. She says she's remorseful and willing to do anything. All I say is, "You're just sorry you got caught." She's called me bitter and resentful, someone who can't let go of the bad. Later, she apologized for saying that, but I know that's what she truly thinks. Her boss's wife and I still talk, and it drives my wife mad. She thinks I'm going to get revenge by starting an affair, or that her boss's wife is the reason I won't give our marriage another chance. My wife has repeatedly asked me to stop communicating with her, just as she has cut ties with her boss. I told her she had lost her mind. We didn't do anything wrong, so why should I even respect her opinion now? I have no respect left for her. She still refuses to give up and actively tries to discuss her thoughts and reasons for the affair with me. I see it only as excuses, so I don't react. She wants us to go to therapy together. I've read many stories where the victim is blamed during therapy, so I told her, "No way." She wants me to read books about infidelity with her, but what's the point if we're divorcing anyway? She wants intimacy. I told her she wouldn't manipulate me through that. She insists it's not manipulation, but just a desire to show how much she loves me. I corrected her, saying, "You love me now, huh?" People around us are judging me, even my mom. She says everyone makes mistakes, and my wife realized through hers that she truly loves me. I tell everyone I'm not going to be someone's backup plan. I feel bad about how I treat her. I still love her, but at the same time, I hate her. I'm too harsh with her. She's trying very hard, but I just don't care. Should I reconsider the divorce? People say I'm rushing and will regret it. Is that true? I don't even know what's real anymore. Now, let me clarify a few points. First, things between my wife and me are somewhat calm right now, not because we're reconciling. No, I'm still divorcing her. In my last update, I detailed our story. The short version, my wife is still begging for a second chance and doing everything she can to earn it. But I'm not giving it to her because her affair lasted too long for me to move past it. If it had been a one-night stand, it would have been a different story, but 2 years, that's a painfully long betrayal. I went to a few therapy sessions with her because I'm not a monster and still love her. One of the sessions was actually quite helpful. It helped me see that my wife is genuinely remorseful. She hasn't handled the aftermath of her affair perfectly, but she's trying really hard. The second session was a disaster. She got upset because I continued to communicate with her boss's wife, and she's afraid I'll retaliate with an affair. That session turned into the angriest moment in this whole story, and we had a huge fight later because I refused to meet her demands to stop talking to the boss's wife. The issue was resolved when I promised there would be no revenge affair. I understand I owe her nothing, but until the divorce is finalized, she is still my wife, and I want to uphold my obligations. I continue going to therapy with her to observe her progress, not because I secretly want to save our marriage, but to witness her efforts firsthand and participate if necessary. Once the divorce is final, I'll walk away peacefully. As for the boss's wife, she's still going through with her divorce. Her husband is resisting it, but she, like me, is determined. We support each other during tough days, but I still see no chance of a romance between us. We're just friends, nothing more. She's a strong, independent woman who refuses to tolerate such treatment. The kids are okay. They understand that divorce doesn't mean we love them any less. While they don't want us to separate, they understand why it's necessary. My wife no longer works at the advertising company. She got a job elsewhere, leaving her old position shortly after I served her the divorce papers. According to her, she's completely cut off contact with her former boss. She sought advice on forums about saving our marriage and has followed the suggestions she found. I've read a lot too, and at first, I didn't understand why people stay with cheaters. But after seeing how much effort my wife has put into improving herself, I can understand the temptation. She's not a monster, just a flawed person who made terrible mistakes and now wants to be better. She's offered me everything under the sun to give her a second chance. I'm not sure I have the strength for that. The closer the divorce gets, the more I feel at peace. Recently, we had a long conversation where she asked me to give her a chance after the divorce. She even suggested signing a prenuptial agreement. I wasn't entirely opposed, but she's done so much to make me at least consider the idea. Honestly, though, most of me wants this divorce as the only way to achieve justice. It's the only way I can restore fairness without sinking to her level. My mom and I reconciled after I shared more about my wife's affair. Now she's furious at my wife after learning all the details. I don't know how to deal with this. Update 2. I didn't want to post again until my divorce was finalized, but today I'm furious and need to vent. As many of you know, my wife is terrified of revenge through an affair. The reason is simple. I'm still in touch with her boss's wife. She's younger, a model, very attractive, and owns a successful business. This drives my wife paranoid. She's afraid I'll give in to temptation and cheat on her out of spite. I still can't believe she has the audacity to lecture me about how 2 wrongs don't make a right. Of course, she's correct. I'm not going to retaliate, but her hypocrisy infuriates me every time. Whenever I'm about to meet with her boss's wife, like yesterday, my wife becomes either incredibly sad or overly clingy. I don't know how many times she has tried to seduce me just to ensure I won't cheat on her in return. I reject her advances, and it only makes things worse. I'm shocked by how selfish cheaters can be. They only think about themselves and their own pain, while the betrayed are left to piece their lives back together, step by step. Here's something else. Our kids still see the boss's wife's kids. I never visit her without the children, but my wife still thinks I'm capable of being as heartless as she was, and would take any opportunity to sleep with this woman. It's ridiculous. Her boss still lives in their country house, begging his wife to take him back. I won't lie, it gives me immense satisfaction to see him suffering the consequences of his actions. He hasn't tried to threaten me because he knows how much leverage I have over him. He has to tolerate the fact that I'm still in touch with his wife. He's allowed to see his children anytime he wants, but he makes sure I'm not around when he comes. Honestly, I pity him. As for my wife, she continues to make a tremendous effort to atone for her mistakes. She showers me with care and attention, but I just don't care. We have a therapy session today, and I feel like unloading all the pain and anger I've carried because of her. The rage I feel is becoming unbearable. Update 3. Here I am again. Nothing particularly new for you guys, but I'll share a few things. I've read many stories about infidelity to better understand my situation. During a recent therapy session with my wife, she asked for a little more time to try to win me back. She presented a long list of reasons why it would be a good idea to at least try and see if we could rebuild our marriage. This wasn't about reconciliation yet, just the possibility of it. I reminded her multiple times that she's only trying because she got caught. If she hadn't been exposed, she wouldn't have even tried to fix anything. I'm not the kind of person who lets himself be walked over, even if it's by someone I love. She admitted all her mistakes and apologized again. She's made countless promises to make amends and wants our marriage to become stronger than ever. She's convinced it's possible. I asked her if she was ready to deal with my anger because I have a lot of it. She said, absolutely, and added that she wanted me to express everything I feel whenever I want to help me heal. Usually, when I'd ask her why she had the affair, she'd come up with a million excuses. But this time, she honestly said there's no justification for what she did. She promised to show through her actions, every single day for the rest of her life, that she is truly remorseful and will never hurt me like that again. She opened up about how she had felt very insecure and envious of her boss's wife. The affair boosted her self-esteem to new heights, and she liked feeling beautiful and desired. She admitted the affair was a fantasy and wouldn't have lasted long. She barely thought about the consequences. She regrets the affair deeply and says she'll live with the guilt for the rest of her life. She might never forgive herself. She said she could never compare to her boss's wife, and that the reason she believed I'd cheat on her in revenge was because the boss's wife isn't just beautiful but also a woman of strong principles. The boss's wife never said anything rude or made any threats to her. Now for the most interesting part. The therapist asked me what it would take for me to consider my wife's proposal. I couldn't think of anything. I honestly said, a time machine. Because what I have now is a broken version of a marriage I didn't sign up for. The therapist said all marriages face problems, from infidelity to death, and how these problems are addressed determines the strength of the marriage. I couldn't believe where this conversation was going and told the therapist to focus on my wife, not us. The therapist said my inability to listen to logical reasoning could be a communication issue. I didn't argue. On the way home, my wife and I had a long talk. She asked if I felt humiliated by her affair. I said, yes. She shocked me by asking if I'd feel better if I slept with another woman. I told her again that I'm not going to have a revenge affair and never intended to. She clarified that she meant taking a temporary separation so I could regain my confidence. She said she would stay faithful and wait until I was ready to come back to the marriage. I thought she must be desperate and found the suggestion absurd. I asked how this could possibly help our marriage if we both started having affairs. She said it wouldn't be an affair on my part because we'd be living separately during that time. I told her it would be a huge risk for her, and she replied that since we're divorcing anyway, if it doesn't help, at least I'd see what's out there. Naturally, I rejected the idea because it felt so out of character for her. In recent weeks, my wife has been strangely calm and patient. She seems like a different person compared to the insecure and restless woman I used to know. Of course, I know I can't trust her. It's incredibly difficult. Even though she doesn't want a divorce, she's handled the process very well. I've read countless stories about divorces turning into messy battles, but not in my case. In the end, I'm still moving forward with the divorce. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this update. Update 4. My wife and I have agreed to act civilly and spend the holidays together as a family. This will be the last holiday we celebrate together, though my wife still hopes for a future with me. I'm doing this for the kids. I love my children. Soon, everything will be over. We've divided everything equally, though my wife has been quite generous on her side. I'm still unsure if this is part of some clever tactic or if she might become aggressive later, but for now, she's behaving well. She admits it's because I was a great husband and father, and she feels I deserve more than just a fair exit, given what she did. This doesn't mean she's losing much in the divorce, but thanks to her generosity, I'm walking away with a bit more. I've decided to stop attending therapy sessions with her, because it was giving her false hope and mixed signals. She confessed that she's developed a burning desire to reconnect with me during this time apart. She says she understands that I feel humiliated and unwanted because of her affair. She often, very often, tries to initiate intimacy. To be honest, she rarely did this before, so it's a little upsetting that she's doing it now. Over time, I've come to appreciate the fact that she recognizes my pain and wants to address it. I reject her advances, but she keeps trying, insisting that it's not about reconciliation, but about making me feel desired. For now, I've stopped communicating with her boss's wife because everything started feeling too personal. To those who speculated that I might have started a revenge affair, you may not have been far from the truth. I didn't realize it myself until the boss's wife confessed that she wanted to explore where our relationship could lead. She said she would wait until my divorce was finalized before we tried anything. I was very confused and didn't know how to respond, so we decided to take a break from communication until everything was settled. The boss's wife is an attractive woman, but I'm not sure if I can reciprocate her feelings. I don't know how to handle this. Some people have suggested that our interactions might be influencing her decision to leave her husband. I assure you, I have nothing to do with her choice to end things with him. She's made that decision entirely on her own. Recently, her boss met with me in person to apologize for everything that happened. He's always been an arrogant man, but this experience seems to have humbled him. I didn't accept his apology. Call me petty, but I don't care what he's going through. Here's a question I have. Is it wrong to be intimate with my wife if we're not planning to reconcile? I'll admit I miss intimacy. My wife has been putting in every effort to initiate it. New lingerie, intimate messages, touches, letters, and so on. Sometimes, it's hard to resist. She even burned and replaced everything in our house that was connected to her boss, without me asking her to. Honestly, I didn't care where they did it. It's not easy to shut off my feelings. It feels like a trap. I'm caught in some sort of game. Before anyone says I should kick her out of the house, I'll tell you, I've tried. But I want her to stay simply because it makes things at home easier. Update. It finally hit me. I thought I'd wasted all these years on a woman who turned out to be nothing, but she gave me wonderful children and great memories, things I'll never forget and will always cherish as a man. But now I finally understand. I can be better than her, and I will be better than her. I've received so much advice on how to handle this situation, and I've realized that I deserve better. She humiliated me, made me feel worthless, and betrayed me the moment another man gave her attention. She poured her energy into someone else, and now she's ready to do everything to keep me. Now she's putting all her energy into us. Now she wants me to be happy, even though she didn't care before. Now she wants to be adventurous and exciting. I've read her messages with her boss, and only know the tip of the iceberg. Now she's eager to show me how much she loves me. Before, she was lazy in that regard. Now she celebrates everything I do and supports me, whereas before, everything revolved around her. Now she respects my boundaries and tries not to cross them. Now she sees me as the king I always wanted her to see me as. It's a shame I had to throw her off her pedestal first. Now she's the perfect woman, but it feels temporary. Now she's completely open with me about everything. She's brutally honest, even if it hurts or humiliates her. I've never seen someone with such a constant expression of shame on their face. She regrets the affair deeply. I see how angry she gets at herself every day. I see the desperation on her face when I don't react to her efforts. She looks so miserable, especially when she tries to hide it. Sometimes it makes me hate myself, but it's necessary. Why can't I see this as a positive thing? Why can't I judge her by her current actions, which clearly show her remorse? Don't many couples survive long affairs and come out stronger? Why do I base my perspective on someone else? Someone else will get her improved version, while I walk toward another uncertain relationship. Why not fight for this when everything points to something good in the future? These are the questions people ask me, and I have one answer. I don't want to tolerate being walked over. Maybe I was willing to at the beginning, but I've woken up now. I'm going to enjoy this Christmas with my family, and then I'll move on without my wife. I've decided to stop listening to the nonsense I've created in my head and completely let go of her. I won't date her again or give us another chance. We're done. I want to say that my wife is not a villain, and that's the absolute truth. I hope she finds happiness, but not with me. Today, I called her boss's wife and suggested we have dinner after the holidays to thank her for her support when I was at my lowest. She said she would be happy to agree. I know these things rarely happen, but we truly supported each other throughout this entire period, and I'm very grateful to her. Before anyone starts claiming that I divorced because of her, let me be honest. That's not true. My emotions have been so tangled over the past few years that the thought of another woman never even crossed my mind. And this is just dinner, nothing more, unless, of course, we both want it to be. But the closer the divorce gets, the more I realize that I do have options. And one of them has been right in front of me this entire time. Update 6. It's been 3 years. Warning, this isn't a fairy tale with a happy ending. Let's start with the main question. How are things between me and my ex-boss's wife? Honestly, just great. If I had known a woman like her existed earlier, I would have spent years searching for her. But seriously, I've never been in such a strong relationship with a woman as I am with her. After what I went through with my ex-wife, I barely knew what a healthy relationship looked like. I still doubt myself sometimes, but this woman has helped me through it all. She's an incredible partner, and I'm deeply in love with her. She constantly shows how much I mean to her, and I feel the same way about her. For now, it's just a relationship without marriage. I'm still unsure if I'm ready for that. We try to involve the kids as little as possible in our relationship, but yes, they know we're dating. What about the kids? At first, it was understandably tough, but now things are good. I think it's because we actively participate in their lives and are always ready to listen when they have problems. We also attended numerous therapy sessions. My daughter and son adore my partner. She gets along wonderfully with the kids. Her children treat me much better than they did 2 years ago. Her youngest daughter even started calling me stepdad during events and outings, which really surprised me. I was afraid she felt pressure to say that, but she told me she genuinely likes me and that I make her mom happy, so she's glad to call me her stepdad. I wasn't prepared for how emotionally moving that would be. It hit me like a ton of bricks. But I kept it together. I love seeing my kids happily playing with hers, even though they've all teamed up to constantly tease my son, the only boy and the youngest in the group. I don't know whether to laugh or be concerned. What about my ex-wife? We're on good terms. She's been making a great effort to rebuild her relationship with our daughter. I was happy when my daughter told me she had found the strength to forgive her mother for what she did. They've been through a lot over the years and have made significant progress in their relationship. However, I don't think my ex has fully accepted that we're over as a couple. She still hints at wanting a second chance. She's been going to the gym and continuing individual therapy. She looks much healthier overall, but I'm indifferent to it. I've made peace with the past. It's her problem if she hasn't done the same. She's been interacting more with my partner, who reciprocates but remains cautious, which is entirely appropriate given everything that happened. What about her ex-husband? He's a lost cause. I didn't realize just how pathetic he would turn out to be. So much money but no sense. He has a girlfriend now, but his kids despise her and don't hide it. It took me a while to understand how self-centered he is. His girlfriend seems extremely materialistic, selfish, and uninterested in his children. Conclusion. As for us, everything is going better than I could have hoped for. Don't get me wrong, I doubted this was the right path. But in the end, everything worked out wonderfully. This isn't a fairy tale with a happy ending, but we're genuinely happy now. Be sure to share your thoughts about this story in the comments. Also, feel free to share your own experiences. It'll be interesting to read. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Your support means a lot to me. Take care.